Good morning, folks. How are you? This is Corey Babka from the Marks Group, just doing our monthly tips webinar. Um, we do these at the end of every month. These actually are here to reflect on or demonstrate directly our tips from the previous month. So bear with me right now. We're trying to do, we've changed our methodology in the last month or so, and now we're using GoToWebinar to do this. I'm going to actually unmute everyone. So, and then we'll do this for a little bit in case there's any like questions. Um, Actually, wait, what I may do is I'm going to mute everyone, but this way we have a little bit more interaction. If you do have any questions or you want to chat with me first, that might be what I'll do is I'll open it up to any questions, so on and so forth, at the end and see how we want to go through it. However, go ahead and use the chat. There's the chat window. You know, if you want to ask me any questions, anything like that. I am recording this right now, just making sure I got all my stuff going on right. I'm recording this, and away we go. So what we're looking at here is we're going to go over a couple things today. It's actually reflective of our July tips. I was on vacation last month, I'm sorry, so I didn't get any tips in for August. And because of the way that July tips were, I really wanted to do this. I wanted to do this webinar to go through the process builder, because that's the thing right here that we're talking about today. One of our users here, one of the attendees, I know personally, is actually very, very well versed in the process builder, probably more so than I at this point. So at a certain point, I may default to him if there's any questions, so on and so forth, but when we open it up too. But wanted to kind of go through the just start from the beginning with our tips and go through. We're going to show how to do an email alert, how to use the process builder, and the tip number one was a little bit twitchy, but that was more of the pros and cons of the process builder. Okay, and so the process builder itself is this new item that was added. I would say in the last maybe 6 to 12 months. It was added in. It was added in as, and to be honest with you, it was kind of like a finally, right? Because we used to have to do a lot of this through nasty development and code to get these type of processes and these workflows to happen. And to be frank with you, because I do work with other CRM systems, not just Salesforce, I can tell you that they were really falling behind on what we could do with the process builder, with workflow, right? With workflow before, you could do things like update a field, maybe send in a notification, but that was about it. In this one here, we can actually do child records, which is a big one for me, right? We can do child records. You can actually get created. You can do multiple workflows into a single, as in we can have this daisy chain of processes that happen. Child workflows is what we call them in other systems, right? Again, you can create new records, you can update existing records, and then you can also fire off other pieces like Apex code. I'm not going to really get into that as much, but I'm going to just talk briefly about the process builder, okay? The cons, unfortunately, of course, anytime we have pros, we got cons, right? The criteria itself, if we just look through this together, it's if then else based, right? Meaning that it will not let you kind of, as my developer wrote these tips last month, what she's saying here is, if it will not go downstream. It cannot keep going, right? If it fails, it's dead. It stops in its tracks. There is a reevaluate criteria, which is fairly new, which allows you to say, however, reevaluate again when this changes or something along those lines, right? The action cannot be reused. It's kind of a small little con, but what that means is that if you have the same process every time, let's say if this passes, I want to update this field. If this passes, I also want to update this field. You can't reuse that same action. You have to create it each time. Just more of a nuisance is what it is. Now, I know that Richard's on this today as well, and he's the one that actually brought it up to me, and we know that he went through this a lot. It's the cloning and editing is what it is, which becomes a problem. That if if you're not doing it right, or you want to change it, or you can clone the existing, but you can't, after you've created it and activated it, you're done. You can't really go back and edit something midstream. You almost have to clone it and then kill certain pieces. So that means that now I've got two active, so I got to make sure that I kill the first one and then I activate the second one. Gets a little bit confusing. You'll end up getting used to it, that type of thing, right? Standard fields, this is one thing that I've noticed directly. I was trying to get this done through a process and can't do it. Activity due date. There's certain standard fields in the system. Salesforce, we run into this all the time. Anybody that does development knows this, that anytime you're dealing with standard fields, you're done. Like there's certain, I don't know why, I don't know where they choose, like this set of fields we can edit through workflow, this set of fields we cannot. Happens to be one of them that I had, activity due date, was the one that I wanted to update and actually make. I was trying to work with a client so that if something happened over here when they completed it, if the due date was in the future, we wanted to make it today because that's when they completed it, because as you know, sometimes when you complete activities, it stays in the future, and they didn't like that, right? So, so that's kind of where we were. I can't update it. I just can't. I don't know why, just can't do it. Okay, so let's go back. So that goes to black screen. Now what we're going to do is we're going to change this to be my, let me go here, and I'm going to go to this guy. Let's see if we can get this to run. There we go. So there is my Salesforce, okay? And I'm actually going to, actually let me mess with the resolution. Okay, hold on. I'm gonna pause my screen real quick, and I'm going to actually, I'm gonna go back here. I'm gonna change the resolution to make the screen a little bit bigger, because otherwise, if I don't, we may end up going blind. Okay, so I'm gonna apply this. I'm gonna hope that the stuff doesn't get all messed up from the screen share. Let's go back to clean screen 2. And if we go back to my Salesforce, let's see if we get this. There we go. A little bit better, a little bit larger on the screen. That's fine. That's what I wanted to say. Okay. So let me do something here. I'll move my camera over so I can see what you guys are seeing exactly. Okay. So what I'm looking at here is a simple, you know, where do we go for the process builder? And our tips, the way that we worked was, we said that we were going to do, we were going to do a simple email alert when an order changes from draft to completed, something along those lines, right? So what we'll end up doing is, as with always, we always go to the tips area, we go to the setup area, and what I always tell people in all my tips is just to search. Don't hit enter every time. You're going to hear me say this. Don't hit enter, just type it in. So if I say process, there's my process builder down here. Okay, if I hit enter, you end up with that weird thing that goes in the search, and then you have to look through all this stuff, and then it kind of follows through, and you'll find it eventually, but not good. So I do setup. Now we're going to do email alert. Okay, and what I find is my email alerts. We get this nice splash screen all the time, you know, and I can say, I always leave it up. I don't know why, but as I say, continue. Now we're going to create a new email alert. And I'm going to say, we're going to call this order complete. Okay, unique name, that's the API name, right? It's going to be on the order object, okay? And here we can even choose our template, right? Now you'll have to create the template beforehand. But what I would do here is I would say, I'm going to just do, for the heck of it, I'm going to do the new lead template that we do. And so here I can do a bunch of different stuff. Now, what's nice about this is it's who's going to get this notification. Now I'm going to move me over here so I get it. But you can also do other, I guess, email fields you could do on the order, something like that. There's also external, if you want to do other 5 email addresses you could do, right? And now who do we send it from? Well, I could say from the system, or I could say from the current user, whatever it is. Those are all, that's a typical email alert. There's nothing really ultra scientific here. It's not really to do with the process builder. I'm just kind of going through the motions. Okay. And so I do this here, and then I save it, and then we've got this set up, right? Okay. Let's move something over here. All right. Just looking at something on my side. Sorry, one second here. Okay. So we've got our email alert built. That's what we wanted to do first, okay, which is fine. Now what we're going to do is we're actually going to go to the bread and butter of the conversation, and that is the process builder. So I type in process builder, and then we end up with that. Again, don't hit enter. I'm just going to click on this. Now, as I said in the tips last month, what happens is you kind of leave Salesforce. It looks like it. You're actually in the Force.com platform. That's why it looks like this, which is very similar to your Lightning view. If you're doing other things with development, sometimes you see this type of back end, but this is a little bit different. Here is my test one that I was just making earlier, right? At this point, I can, I don't think I can delete this. There, I can delete it right there. I'm just going to delete the thing. But you notice, see how there's versions? This is when I was talking about that cloning, right? So if I was to open these up, you're always going to have a version 1. I'm going to delete this guy, right? And then I'll just delete it, and now we're back to wherever we were, okay? So I'm going to do a new process, and this is where we get to the process name. I'm going to say order complete process. API name gets filled in, used as a test during our webinar to show what happens when order status changes, right? And we save it. Okay. Now, this is what happens here, and this is where a lot of folks, and I've done a little bit of work with, you know, with the process builder. You know, full disclosure, it's fairly new. You know, I have some clients that do a lot of workflow and some that don't. What I do like about this, and what I have done with it, is pretty good when it comes to, you know, the actual flow, right? I mean, it actually shows you this workflow, which a lot of, I mean, Microsoft CRM, for instance, it has child workflow. It has things as complicated as this, if not more complex, but it doesn't show you this grid that we're looking at, the start to add object and keep going, right? The workflow, or the process, the flow chart, that's the word I'm looking for, that you do have, that we're looking at right now. Okay. View all processes goes back to our list again. We can clone it, we can edit, but edit is just the name. Okay, it's not anything more than that. It's not a matter of going back and editing these actions or anything like that once we're done. So we're going to add an object. First things first, we're going to add an object, and we're going to say we want to do the order object, okay, when a record is created or edited, right? And then I can go here and we can do allow this to evaluate a record multiple times in a single. This is the one that is fairly new. It's up to 5 times. So because I've noticed at times where you have workflow happens in different orders, like sometimes we can't control the other workflow that happens. So therefore this will just keep redoing itself over and over again until it finds the right spot, okay? Until it actually succeeds. If it succeeds, well, then what you've got is then it goes on to the next item. Okay, so I save that. Now I've got the order, and then we add the criteria. Okay, so to add the criteria is going to be, we're going to call this order status changes to. Okay, and I'm going to say formula evaluates a true or conditions are met. You can do whatever you want. Some people prefer the formula because it goes back to our formula builder. I'm going to go this here. And I'm going to look at status. Okay, choose that. It's going to equal to, and then there I'm going to say, let's do activated. Okay, and so what happens is we do that there. So we've got just a. I'll silence my phone real quick, getting a few messages, and I don't want to get interrupted. So if I do activated, I also do, you can do something else where you can say order status. I've done this as well. I need to make sure if I'm doing it in the right spot. So I can say status, and I can say is changed, right? And I can say is true. So I like that because that allows me to say, okay, order status, it's not always activated, because if so, every time it's activated, um, if it's activated and stays activated, but we change something else throughout, this could fire. So therefore, I'm putting in that status is changed equals true, and so therefore the status is changed, and now it equals activated. Okay, and then I'm going to say, I'm going to scroll down a little bit, see if there's that. All the conditions, any of the conditions, customize it, etc., etc. Advanced allows me to, when specified changes are made to the record. Yeah, see, I can do this here, where I can say only the specified changes, right? And I think that is the same thing as when you select yes, the actions are it meets the criteria, but now the values that the record immediately had before didn't meet, right? Let me scroll down a little bit so we can see that better. So this means that these actions won't be executed when irrelevant changes are made. So in essence, this is doing the same thing as this is doing. So if I get rid of this and I check this box and say save, it should only matter when this changes to activated, right? Yeah, okay, so we'll try that. We're going to test this out and mess with it and see what it does. So we've got there. Now, what is it going to do? So if it's false, what does it do? Well, it can add another criteria if you want, or we can just stop. If this is blank, it's just going to stop. Otherwise, we're moving on, okay? And so my immediate action, I'm going to add one, is going to be an email alert. And the action name is send email, okay? And I have to find an email alert, right? Let's see here, lead. Where is my order? There it is, my order complete. Now, knowing the name, like what's that about, right? I have to know the name, but that's the API name, okay? Now, you can also do create one. If I do create one, it actually kicks you out and goes back to this again, right? Which is really bizarre for me because it kicks you out and goes to a new window and then you go back to it, but I just like having it before. That was one of our tips from before, okay? I'm going to save this. Okay, is there a time lapse? Set the schedule. I don't have it at all. I could do it. I could set it a day later, 3 hours from now. Let's see if it's got hours if I wanted to, but I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to cancel that out. And then I'm going to activate this. So essentially what I've got is at the order, when the order status changes to activated, we're going to send that email, and that's it, and then it stops. So we're going to activate this one, okay? It will, as you can see, it activates the process automatically, deactivates earlier versions. So that's where we had that tree where it was 1 and 2 and 3, which is fine. That gives you a kind of a chain of events in what was actually done. So I confirm on this, and now if I go back to my view all processes, so you can notice here I can't really change anything. See? If I want to change this criteria, I can only do cancel. I can't look at anything. I can't change. And that was one of those things that I know that Richard, who was on the call, he had actually mentioned to me months back, because when he was starting to play with this and use it a lot, he had said the same thing. He said, well, every time I need to make a change, I have to clone it and remake that change. There's a good and a bad, right? The good allows you to say, okay, well, this is what I was doing here, and now I know where, and I have that development track. Hardcore developers will like that track to be able to go through and see what changed, and they can roll it back and whatever it is, but still, it's kind of a pain, right? So I give it to my view all processes, and there's my guy there, okay? And now, if I do this right, I'm going to go back to my home page. You notice there was really no way to go back. I'm going to go to my orders. I'm going to go to tester. Let's see if I have a test company. Let's see, company. Oops, got to spell test company, right? There's tester company. She's a lead. Can't really add an order to her. Let's go to, well, let's convert her. We're going to convert her. We're not going to make an opportunity. We're going to convert tester. And we're going to go and add on an order for her. Okay, so here's a new order. Order start dates today. Billing street, all that kind of stuff. The status is in progress, right? I do have a contract number. I can. There isn't one. Let's do this. It's gonna yell at me. I know it is. And there's nothing, I don't have any contracts. So let's just do this. Save it and let it yell at me. Okay. That's not good. That's going to fail. Okay. I had this working earlier, folks, I promise. All right, let's do, let's get out of this order page for a second. Let's go find an order. I have orders out here. Okay, and new order. All right, this is where we pause the video, right? We have to look at our order page layouts, and let's get rid of that that require rule for the contract. Where's my contract? Why do I have this? What happened? We had it. It was in here fine. It was all good. This is when I start to lose the crowd. Contracts. Why do I have a contract, a required contract, and I don't? Because I don't need that. There's your order. Okay, let's go back. I'm going to go back to my account. I'm going to go back to tester company. I'm going to add in a new order. I'm going to try and figure out why there's a new contract. Contract owner, I don't have any. Let's just make one then. Make one of these. There's a contract number. Let's change this. We're going to actually activate it. Yeah, that's fine. Okay. Now let's go back to my orders and see if we can add it in that, because that contract exists. I'll have to look at that, folks. I'm sorry, I don't know why that is there. Oh. Well, that's not good. Let's see here. This is when I unmute everyone and say, does anyone have any thoughts as to why this is here? Does anybody deal with contracts that's actually on? If not, because I did this one before, I can cancel this, but I want to add in that new order, because basically what I have to do, yeah, I'm not getting it here. So basically what we're looking at, folks, is I'm going to have to end it and come back and apologize here that why my contract number is there. This is not something I would look at. If I go to my, well, we can do something else, right? We can go to the process builder. We could do this instead. We're going to create a new one. We're going to call it new lead. We're going to do this pretty fast, okay? Because the order didn't work. So we're going to add the object. We're going to say on lead. Okay. When a record's created, we're going to do it this way. So I'm going to send out a new alert when there's a new lead is what I'm going to do, right? And I know there's other ways of achieving this, but I just want to show you how it works. So when I do this, conditions are met, and I could do something like, I don't know, lead status, changes to, or sort of status, yeah. I could say choose equals, and it says open, right? I say save. Boom. And then we've got this add an action, same thing. I'm going to do an email alert. Oh, sorry. I'm going to say order. Where is that one that was looking at order complete? That's what it's called. And of course, this isn't going to work because it doesn't work. Okay, so what's going to happen, folks, is the reason why it's not finding this alert is because I don't have one. This one, I do a new email alert, has to be on the lead record, right? So I have to do the same thing. New lead, there it is, email template. You have a new lead, right? Goes to me. And there's my alert, okay? So I go back to here, and I can say new, I think that's what it was, new lead. Yep. Save it. And I activate the process. So if I do this right, when I go back to setup, then it goes back to here, I can go to my leads. I can do a new lead, and I can say, yes, this new lead is Jane Doe for Doe and Company. Okay, lead status is open. I can put in other information like 5 Main Street. Right. Bridgeport. I always use this one. Don't know why, just do. Phone number is right there. I'm going to say info at, right? And then we just do that type of thing, and I say save. Now, if we did this right, there should have been an email that went out to me. Now, I can go look at my email and see if it's there, and we'll see when it happens and when it comes in and so on and so forth, and we can watch for it for a while. But if we're doing it this way, what I should see at a certain point is that email that comes in, trying to search, but that's what the objective would be here. It may take a few minutes for this to happen. I don't want to waste you guys' time doing this, but what we're looking at here is this will eventually come in, and I'll get that email that says you have a new lead, so on and so forth. What I'm going to want to do after this call, though, is probably remove that process. Otherwise, every lead I put into the system, I'm going to end up getting a new email. Okay, so that type of thing there. So that's it for now. I'm going to unmute and just ask if there's any questions from anybody on the team. And then what I'll do is, I'll just remind you, I haven't updated the latest tips. If there's any questions, just shout them out at this point. I haven't, there we go. Okay, gotcha. So Richard just told me that the contract is, this is a requirement when manually creating an order, but can be bypassed when importing an order. Okay, so because they're doing a lot of, the group that Richard works for is they're doing a lot of work with importing orders. So that's just something I got to look at. I apologize for that whole script of the order and the contract and all that kind of stuff, but thank you for that, Richard. What we've got is, I don't have the latest tips. I don't have quote-unquote September's tips up yet. They will be up soon. We're trying to go through them a little bit to see what we can do. We're trying to finalize between the last few. I may do a little bit more with alert or emails and email blast next month. Go ahead and sign up for our normal monthly webinars. Appreciate you coming today. And again, apologies for any of the technical difficulties. Like I said, a few things going on here. We've got the new GoToWebinar, so we've got that going on, and of course, I just hosed it because of the contract thing. I've been using orders a little bit recently with other clients, but not as much, on my own system. So that's where we are. Thanks for coming, folks. And any questions, any comments? My email address is Corey@marksgroup.net. Corey@marksgroup.net. All right. Have a great day. I'm going to stop the recording and stop the broadcast. Have a great one.